startups have are much more open to design thinking methodology. Like if you look at
Startups are built
Zomato,
by design
Swiggy,
thinking
Uber,
methodology.
like you take all the services that are existing right now in India, they have such a strong design team.
Hello and welcome to Office Insider. I'm Sheetal Vanwari, and today I have not one but two guests with me, Pooja Vasu and Gabriela Silva. Both of them happen to be design researchers, have worked together in Studio 5, Dr. Reddy's Studio 5, and while Pooja has moved to Fractal now, they both remain steadfast friends. Pooja is an NID graduate, and Gabby, as Gabriela is known, is a design photo design factory graduate. So, welcome to the show. I'm going to start off with first, please explain to everyone what exactly is design research and what is it that you do?
Do you want to go first?
You can go.
Yeah, okay. So it's quite simple. We try to understand what the users want before designing anything. So be it service, be it product, be it communication. The idea is very simple that we need to know who are we designing for and what they want so that what you design is not very far from their expectations,
Mhm.
and hence the chances of the adoption of any sort of design solution is much higher, and not just on a surface level, but it's actually solving for some kind of a need. So that's what the basic idea is, to be like, to say in like layman's term.
And normally also design research, I mean, it's a little bit confused, I guess, design research and then UX research as well, or UX researchers. So the thing with design research is that normally you don't have any associated solution in your mind when you go into speaking with the users. So when you actually speak with people, when you understand their pain points, what they're going through, kind of put ourselves in their shoes, you don't have anything in mind. So the solution or what can come out of it can be anything, can be any type of solution. And sometimes it's as small as like communication or like, any collaterals, like posters, stuff like that. And sometimes it's as big as a full ecosystem of different solutions that are connected to each other in order to work.
See, the thing is that when you mention design, automatically, we think of drawing, painting, art. So, can you give us an example of how do you implement something like this? I know you all have both worked in healthcare, and Pooja, now you're with CPG. So, can you give an example of what you've done and how you've implemented a solution post research?
Yeah, sure. But I think first of all, I think there are two parts to it. One is like, how do you distinguish design from art? So, to simply put, art may or may not solve any problem, but design has to solve some problem. It has to have some purpose. Art is more of self-expression and super subjective, while aspects of design can also be subjective when it comes to um, execution of it, maybe, but at the core of it, it has to solve for some sort of a problem, or there needs to be some anchoring need that you are like, working towards. It needs to have a purpose. So design is more practical, whereas art is like a little more abstract. So that is the basic difference of it. So it can go from designing a product because it has a purpose, to designing a platform like Netflix because it has a purpose, to designing any sort of like, services like Uber. So everything, all these are like examples of design, whereas art is like, again, very subjective in that sense. So that's the main difference. So
But
I think,
even
yeah.
within, yeah, you have like the difference between like design and art. But then there's also like a misconception in terms of research because it's design research. So what does these two together mean? And also what's the difference of a normal research and why is design there? Like what are you designing for? Right. So if you look at like scientific research, or even like if you're doing your master's, you're doing also your research for your thesis. Normally, yes, you're analyzing data. You're looking for data in multiple different places and you're trying to come up with a conclusion, but not necessarily you're creating something new. You're not creating something different. You're not creating something new. And I feel like the design word in there always kind of specifies that this research has that purpose as well. Not only understanding and discovering the problem, but then discovering in a way that you can create something new to solve that. So for me, this is where the design, the creation aspect, like invention almost, kind of comes together with design research.
How does it work? So give me an example with something that you work.
So one of the projects that we did was Dr. Reddy's wanted to. They have a very strong presence in LATAM. So basically, Brazil, Colombia are one of our stronger markets. But to differentiate ourselves, we wanted to see that what are the unexplored opportunities that exist in terms of creating patient experiences and services that are ancillary to the medical products that we have in the market, so that we can take a holistic approach towards solving for oncology patients.
Which is basically what we call pill plus innovation.
Yeah.
So beyond the pill that we can offer, which is the clinical scientific aspect of what Dr. Reddy does, then what is the full ecosystem hub support management that you can also offer the patient, which is not necessarily just the medicine.
Correct. So we went into the
That the patient.
pardon.
Would it be the entire journey that the patient goes through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's not just the patients; it's also the caregivers. So when we
Yeah.
say patient becomes a unit,
Mhm.
also looking at like what are the infrastructures that the ecosystem doesn't have. Say for example, the hospitals don't have. What do the hospitals are currently providing? What are the different touch points where patients face challenges, and what can we do about it, right? So first we did Colombia, then we did Brazil. And also because each country has its own healthcare system, like whether it's an insurance based model, or whether you have to pay out of pocket. Like in India, we have to pay out of our pocket, whereas in Colombia and Brazil, it's very insurance driven. So the insurance is the one who pays for all of your medications and treatments and everything. So this entire service aimed at, like, supporting the patients, which Gabby said, beyond the pill, like all the other access that we could provide them. Like prosthetics is a very big thing, like wigs. Not only just give me a good wig source, but also can you help me to understand what are the different ways of grooming my hair? Like what are the different styles? Are there salons specialized in treating with, like, people who are going through treatment? So it was like a plethora of services that was suggested. Of course, right now it's in the pilot stage. Few of the ideas have been taken ahead by the business team, and I don't have the latest updates. But I think the reason why we can talk about it is because it's out there in the market, both in Colombia and in Brazil.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was one of the projects.
So, Gabby, I believe I read somewhere that you have, trained or collaborated with Stanford University to come up with some design thinking solution. How do you, how does a brand imbibe or a product imbibe design thinking in their day-to-day work, or what can a regular brand do?
I think like one of the main key points for me that sometimes is difficult to understand how to kind of provide brands with this type of thinking and how to tell them like this is helpful for you to have like design thinking and human centered design is the fact that I mean normally when they approach research they want results fast. They want to know what's the direction fast. They want to from the beginning have ideas. So you start the research, but they feel like, okay, like let's jump into ideas already because I have so many of them. Like it's the right time. And I think like the cyclical part of what can be design thinking and design research, I think this is something that one, it's hard to prove, but once the company really understands that thinking, that mindset, and what the value is for the brand, for the company, then I think this can really make a difference because it really allows you the right time, the right experimentation, the right tests to be able to prove that that is actually a need from the users before jumping into any ideation. Because normally, even like within the Stanford methodology, what we used to say is we used to force ourselves like right in the beginning, just for like 5 days to with very like almost minimal research done to already ideate and put your ideas across there just to keep like a backlog, let's say. And of course, those ideas are going to be the first that come into your mind, and they are going probably to be the most basic ideas ever. They already exist in the market. Most likely, it's been done by somebody. Also allows you to map your assumptions right from the beginning, have them like kind of defined in your head, and then move ahead, move beyond them, and not stay stuck in those assumptions.
Because if you already have these preconceived notions, that means you're not
Correct.
correct. So the research angle does not really come into the
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
And also design thinking is more of a problem solving approach, if
Mm-hmm.
not anything else. So for a brand, every time they are going or putting out something in the market, design thinking can come into play, right from how you are positioning yourself in the market. What are your ideologies, what are your who are you catering to. From there to any sort of product that you put out in the market, design thinking can be used. So
Mm-hmm.
more and more companies are sort of recognizing the value of it. Otherwise, I mean, who would have thought like an analytics company would have a design thinking capability within it, right? Like, I mean, CPGs of the world are basically the quickest to have adopted design thinking till now, whereas healthcare and analytics are still the traditional way of
Mm-hmm.
approaching like their own areas, business areas, and now they are more open to seeing the value that design thinking gets in. So, what we do as design thinking experts are like getting the different team together to think in collaboration rather than working in silos. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's also one of the biggest, I think, asset or strength that designers have, which is exactly what any brand would need, right? Like instead of looking at it in silos, like, okay, what are the sales growth? What is the marketing thing? But basically making sure that you put everyone in the room and you align on what the goals are and then look at it from a very user perspective. I think that's what can
Mm-hmm.
be how design thinking can definitely help in a day to day work situation.
What about how's the scene in Portugal? So is we understand that India is very nascent in this, but you're from there, and yeah. So how is it more evolved than India?
So I'll first kind of speak in terms of macro level. So in Europe, definitely you have a lot of agencies, a lot of consulting companies that kind of position themselves as design and innovation only, where design thinking is one of the like main processes that they use across.
Also, startups have are much more open to design thinking methodology. Like if you look at
Startups are
Zomato,
built by design
Swiggy,
thinking
Uber,
methodologies.
like you take all the services that are existing right now in India, they have such a strong design team. Like,
Yeah.
right from like how do you design the marketing campaign to what are the features that Swiggy needs to add. Like Swiggy has such a big community of design researchers. They have such a big community of design strategists. So it's
Mhm.
very well established and like integrated rather than like say a branding company in that
Mm.
sense.
Besides you, I don't know anyone who's been in this. And it's something that's picking up. I'm sure that a lot of brands will adopt this way of thinking because anything that starts with startups then eventually is picked up by other brands because you see value in it. And hopefully that will change the way everything's done, the design of the product, the branding, the marketing. So I think this can just go on this topic because there is a lot to learn from both of you. It was really nice to have you guys on the show. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so I will catch up with you offline. Thank you, Pooja, and I learned this, but I think I've forgotten. Obrigada.
Very good. Very
Thanks a ton, guys. And you can follow them on LinkedIn. Their IDs are mentioned on the video. And please follow Office. Stay tuned for more episodes of Office Insider.
good. Bye bye.
Thank you.